What's going on, everyone? The Harlem water must have something else in it, since it gave birth to some incredibly arrogant characters that I like individually. But, for instance, Rocky, I believe he strikes a nice balance between being arrogant and charming, so it's not too arrogant to the point of being harsh. Instead, it's like, oh, that's a cool guy. Jim Jones, on the other hand, was arrogant in the sense that he wore many historical fashions and puffed his chest up. But he was also the kind of arrogant that made you wonder, why the hell did you do that? Why is your ego? I'll give you, guys, a recent example before we get into Jim Jones talking about being better than Nas, which is like what? But a recent example was when Jim Jones was rolling around with Ye. If you guys remember last year, Jim Jones was around Ye frequently, and Ye messes with Jim Jones. So one of the things that happened was Jim Jones was able to get a deal for, I think, AM, maybe 2 M's or something. He got a big finder fee for connecting Ye with this crypto company that wanted to do a deal with him. All he had to do was connect them, and he was going to get a bag, so he did that, and then Ye talked about that later, about like Jim Jones betraying him, like taking in a big deal, like just trying to leech off of him or use the closeness and the proximity that he had to him to make money off of him. And then Ye talks about, or Jim Jones talks about, how Ye wanted him to mock up some PDF for him, the file, not the replacement for the word. And he was like, yo, I'm not going to make no PDF for somebody. And it's just, wait, what? You're hanging out with Ye, and it's obviously not about the music. Sure, you have taste, but you're not in that crowd. He's asking you for help with something, so why don't you just lend him a hand if you're his friend? Also, if my friend asks, yo, could you please make me a PDF for this? What do you need me to do? Specifically, if the person is busy and I'm at their company or something similar. Of course, it's a different dynamic if they're just sitting there and giving me instructions. But yes, I would help a friend, especially if I knew how to do it. Would I trust Joe Bud in that situation? It's Joe Bud, 10. Would I trust Jim Jones to do something like that? I don't know. I don't know if he's proficient at it. I don't know if he's capable of doing it, but it's a simple task that just goes to show you're there to benefit and to use the person, and you're not even trying to contribute any type of value, and you feel like certain jobs, quote unquote, are beneath you, and it's okay to feel that about certain grunt work. But a PDF, that's something different. He's not telling you to fetch some coffee for him, and even then, was doing that when he was interning at, I think, was it Fendi? One of those brands, it escapes me. I've written about it before, but Jim Jones starts to talking about Nas and just outright lying on Nas. So if you guys are unfamiliar with Jim Jones, you shouldn't be. He had the song We Fly. Hi, he had one song. This was in 2006, 2007. However, that's nationally speaking and internationally as well. But if we're talking New York, especially Harlem, yeah, Jim Jones is a New York legend. He's got verses, he was with Dipset, he's had an influence, he's still in the game, but when you're talking musically, this is what he had to say on That Joe's podcast with Jadakiss. He said this with a straight face about Nas, and I had to make a stank face. I'm going to play you guys that clip right now. This is appalling.
There's a big gap there, you know what I mean? I want people to understand that, so when Shorty's telling people that, yeah, he's 20-some years old, that goes to show the part of the era that he's in, that I came into light and started going crazy that these kids love me. They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them. Some of them know. But
You know what I mean?
a lot of them know.
Yes.
But it's the era.
Some music.
No.
There's some kids that.
No, I love that.
There's some kids that love
My son's
hip-hop.
20, so I don't need
But
know
that
about
kid,
that.
he's your son.
He's your son.
He's your son.
No, but he knows.
My son,
They know about
my son
Nas.
can't tell
What?
you one Nas record. You heard? Like, let's keep it a buck here.
Yeah, but
let's keep it a buck. You heard? Let's keep it a buck, because they'll bring it up. There must be some type of misconception or what's that word? When it comes to Jim Jones and what Jim Jones have done in this game. A lot of these rappers.
We made him take the darkies off.
A lot of these rappers have done a tremendous job, and I take nothing away from them. But they forget I got a hell of a catalog. Me, Jim Jones, myself, gold records, platinum records, gold albums, platinum albums. No, me, Jim Jones. No diplomats, no nobody else. Me, Jim Jones. Check my track record, then check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries, and check all them niggas' entries and shit. And I'm not taking nothing away from nobody. But I hear the comparisons and the niggas trying to act funny when it comes. No, I've been spanking a lot of this shit about the industry. I've been putting on. So let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the billboard entries, pull up Nas billboard entries and pull up.
Therefore, I'm not sure if he's telling the truth or if he believes what's about to happen. First thing out of his mouth. None of your kids' classmates are discussing things like, yo, that Jim Jones song? None of them. Zero, zilch, at all. Despite the fact that your son knows more about Nas than he does about you. Yes, you are referring to my son, who has no idea who Nas is, who you are, or your music. Unless you were playing it to him and making sure he understood it. Teaching him about it, your son is talking about plaque versus plaque, and I assume that he is talking about dental plaque or something. It's because Jim Jones only has one certification, which is the platinum record for We Fly High, which was unquestionably a hit, but that's all that people remember him for. Even in New York, people ask, what happened to that Ballin guy? He had that one hit, and that went platinum on 2 different records because I believe he was on Koch Records and then on some other record label. So that's platinum. And then he had a gold song called Pop Champagne, which keeps in mind that song that was released that same year or the year after. And it's been how many years since then? And it still hasn't gone platinum. It's been like 10 plus years, and this was at a time when people were buying records since 2007. So there was no streaming. So 2009, this went gold, and it's been 16 years since, and it hasn't gone platinum. So clearly people aren't bumping it. And then he's got the We Set the Trends song with the Migos, which I actually kind of mess with, and that's gold. But Nas has gold and platinum albums just in the past couple of years with King's Disease. I'm pretty sure one of those has gone gold at least. So Nas musically washes Jim Jones any Sunday. Monday through Sunday, and anybody that would even bring up that argument. Just goes to show, like, this is the type of cocky where, like, what is wrong with you? Like, for example, if you put Rocky there, he's not even going to think to say something like that, yet Jim Jones does it. It's like, what the hell? But after this, Jim Jones gets on Shannon Sharp's podcast, the Midnight Podcast that he does with Ultra Sino, and I'm going to play you guys this clip because Shannon Sharp calls him out. He's like, yo, you're tweaking. There's no way you said this right, you bro. And so let me just play you guys that clip.
I bless people, the more I get blessed. And it's just a testament of hard work and being resilient and being real with yourself. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you a question, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
You smoke, right?
Yeah.
Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?
I might have been a little bit. Well, as far as let's get this right. I'm way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when we talk about the sales and all this type of shit. I feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that
but
bullshit.
listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit of run. But Nas always came up second to Jay and DMX and all these other people. Like, he
Ain't
never
no
had
shame in that. There a lot of mofos came up second to Tom Brady.
He never had that type of influence on us, except for his first album. I already told you, I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear and shit. I used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and shit like that. Like, I don't.
Man, go ahead on with that, Jim.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm being honest. You ask me, I'm being a fan. I'm telling you, the movie Belly was fire, but after that, he kind of lost me. I think we was way too much into the game. Remember how this goes. You ever heard of a Kofi list?
Yeah.
Yo, go back into your history and find out what happened between us and him. You dig? And I'm not trying to repeat history, but don't play with us when it comes to that, bro. We already went wild on them boys. You heard? We the ones that went wild on them boys, you heard?
Hey, Jim.
Yo, and people out here acting like I said I'm gonna bring the Kofi list back. I just told you I'm gonna change man, Steph law. Key, you dig?
Nah, look, I'm put it to you like this, Jim. Hey, bro, you been in this thing, but lyrically,
Jim Jones replies, "No, like my influence. Now that he is making changes, I feel like I don't get enough recognition for it." Go back to where you were talking about looking at the plaques and billboards. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. The billboards catch our attention. You are nowhere to be seen. It's tumbleweed. Cobwebs are present. They're spider eggs. There are plenty of such examples that illustrate in comparison to Nas, who is undoubtedly a more musically important musician than Jim Jones. You have very few Billboard entries, just one or two. He reconnected with Hit Boy within the last decade. And the two of them have won Grammys together with King's Disease. 1, 2, and 3. Jim Jones has never received an invitation to the Grammy Awards, much less been nominated. What are we doing here, man? Come on. Yes, I admire Shannon Sharpe's full court push because he says, no, wait a minute. You will not engage in this behavior with us. Jim Jones attempts to talk his way out of it, of course, but he then turns it into a potential street thing by saying stuff like, nah, we were influenced by Nas because he had these clothes. It's like if Dog were discussing rap. Like, it doesn't matter whether you were the first to wear a certain style. It wasn't the beginning of this. We would have just nodded our heads in agreement if Jim Jones had been saying anything along the lines of, yeah, I was wearing chrome. As though Nas didn't really have chrome. As an introduction, you can remark, check the billboards and the plaques. Take in the tunes. People are listening to me, not you. And no one is listening to Nas. They like this. We could retrieve statistics, which is a good feature. While we have it, let's retrieve monthly listeners. Because of this, they are unable to get rid of it, and doing so would be improper. Who the hell is listening to Jim Jones at the moment? I love that statistic. Of course, We Fly High is number 1. We Fly High is number 3. And we set the trends with the Migos. This man has 860,000 monthly listeners. Are we joking? I think Jim Jones just debuted an album at the church steps. And in its first week of release, it sold around 4,000 copies. That hasn't even sold 4,000 copies, in my opinion. February saw the release of this album. Hey guys, what are we doing this for? This is awful. This is awful. However, as time passes, Shannon Sharpe begins to develop a strong affection for him. Right now, I'm going to play Jim Jones's funny reaction for you all.
How you dress? Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the
But
things
I-
that we, the listen to
I
me,
can
the
be in the
things-
church
the
house.
thing-
You can't
the
F with
things-
Nas
the
lyrics.
things that we- the
I don't know
things
who
that
told
we-
you that. Now look,
the
I
things-
know you on
the
that
things
good
that we
stuff,
listen to
but
and
you're
the
not
things that
seeing
you listen
Nas.
to. Bro,
You're
it's a
not
bunch
seeing
of
Nas, bro.
You got a bunch
Let's
of
be
40 and
real.
50 You got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better
It
than
don't
Nas.
matter.
Look at you. Look at you. Ain't all in your
nobody from
feelings.
Dipset gonna
Shannon,
take you
that
over
shirt-
Nas.
that
Nobody
shirt
from the
too-
Diplomats
that
but
shirt-
you.
That
Hey, I
shirt
got-
too
I got a
tight.
Hold on,
You
Jim.
ain't
Hold
got
on.
with Nas.
That shirt too
Hold on,
tight.
hold on.
That
Jim,
shirt
Jim,
too
Jimmy.
tight. You want to go back
hold
to
on.
I really mean it? I really mean it started. We could go
No,
back to
but I
the
just
history,
said,
bro.
for you to
Don't
even
do
say that.
bro. Don't do that, bro. That shirt
Hold on, hold on.
Say it.
be sticking
I
up for Nas.
got
Let
a
Nas-
question. I
let
got a
Nas
question.
stick up for itself and meet me in a booth for something if we want to do something historical.
He
Other than that, ain't nobody
Nas
talk
say he
about
don't
it.
do that no more. Nas say he don't do that.
Because he got $100 million. He's a very wealthy man. You heard he's a very smart
Hey,
businessman. He
I
called
got-
a
I got-
couple
I
business.
have-
Jim Jones abruptly becomes a huge Nas fan, saying things like, hey, I can name more Nas songs than you like. What is a Nas record?
I can sing more Nas records than you right now. So you
Yeah.
are capping. You are capping. That's what you're doing.
First of all, bro,
You are
I'm about to be
capping.
50.
I'm a bigger Nas fan than you are. You are capping.
First of all,
and I still can tell you
I'm
he can't rap
57.
better
I
than you
don't
right
be
now.
singing no rap. I don't
Hey.
be singing no rap.
You see what I'm saying, Ocho? He don't even know about rap. He just doing this for the views to get Jim Jones on there to get him hot. I understand, but you don't
Get
know
him
no
hot?
Nas lyrics. You don't
You
know
better,
Nas
you better
lyrics.
check the
You don't
podcast
know
space.
no
Hey.
Nas lyrics.
Now you better talk.
Sing
check-
16.
Hey,
sing
this the
a
biggest
Nas
podcast you ever been
Name
on.
one Nas record.
Hey,
This the
Sing
biggest
one Nas
podcast
track.
you ever been on.
Hold on,
You
hey,
know
we
the
all-
podcast
you know
you been
Nas-
on better
Hey.
than this one.
Hold on,
I'm
hold
not
on.
a
We off
podcast-
topic.
I'm not a
Hold on, hold on.
No, no, no,
hold on,
hold
hold
on,
on.
hold on,
This is what I
Joe,
do.
Joe.
You see
Name
you
a
in your
podcast you've been on
feelings? You
bigger
see
than
in your
this one.
feelings? You see
When
in
you
your
get
feelings?
big, you get
This is
invited to
what I
Club Shay Shay.
this is what I
Hey.
do.
Nas get invited to
You a
Club
po-
Shay Shay.
you a podcast- I don't
Jadakiss
give
get
a
invited to
fuck
Club
about
Shay
no Club
Shay.
Shay
You
Hey,
not
yo.
on that level yet, bro.
See,
Slow
we
it
on- we
down.
on-
It's for little young
Hello?
white girls. Chill out.
We
Chill
off
out. Don't play
topic.
with me, bro. Chill
We
out.
off topic.
You dealing with the wrong one, bro.
Right here, bro.
I
You heard
don't
me?
care nothing about nothing that shit you got to say, bro. You might as well take me
Hello?
off this shit.
Hey, we here. You can't out
Leave
talk
me
me.
alone, bro.
You might can out rap me, but
Don't
you can't
nobody-
out talk me.
Don't nobody want to go to Club Shay Shay. Nobody want to buy no VIP tickets to that shit. Nobody rushing to go to that shit.
Get
You ain't got
podcast
nothing
you ever
lit
been
in
on.
Club Shay Shay.
Hey.
you
If
do
you
got a good
fortunate, you get
podcast.
an invite.
You do got
Ain't
a good
nobody
podcast.
listening to me?
Your podcast is tremendous. You and Ocho do your thing. But don't get it twisted, bro. I don't care
Hey.
nothing about no.
What the heck, King? Sick 123. We have Nostradamus. I just mentioned 3 Nas songs. It was written. We've got Illic, we've got Magic, which I believe was the title of his 7-track EP with Hit Boy. It's the kind of thing where someone yells at a girl and then says, "Man, nobody wants you anyhow." Just because you got rejected like a dog, you're on a big podcast. Like, you're not going to cap. Like, oh man, nobody cares about Club Shay Shay, dog? Are we serious? He then tries to make it seem like he expects Shannon to be unable to name them, or rather, that he expects Shannon to be unable to name them. And this is the problem, man. Like, at least I think it's Jim. Jones hangs out in Harlem too much. Like, he gets too much love, because if you guys remember Jim, Jones is still really in these streets in terms of affiliated, hanging out with the same type of guys when he was younger, even though I think Jim Jones is in his 50s because he was on some of those calls that we heard during the 6X9 in case. It's Braun. So I think he's just hanging around Harlem so much and people show him so much love out there that he doesn't realize, outside of that bubble, nobody cares about you. Nobody even thinks to care or know what you've got going on a regular basis, unless it involves something else. So for you to come out and say Club Shay Shay, don't nobody care about that? Who are you? And then why would you get on there as well? And this was Midnight Cap that he was on, not Club Shay, but this is how you know this is the type of individual you don't want to do favors. For you don't want to help this type of person, you know what, just leave him over there, and that's largely what happened to Jim Jones for most of his career. Like, there was like a 15-year period before we saw another song from him come out in like 2021 or 2022 that he got with Amigos. I mean, I'm surprised he's still alive and kicking. Not his career to a degree, although is his career alive and kicking? The guy dropped an album this year and it hasn't even sold 8K copies. Yet man, actually, I like Jim Jones historically as well, but his music does not hold up. There are 100 other New York rappers who think the same thing. And they didn't have a hit as big as We Fly High. But if we're talking about quality, music, consistency, and longevity of like, hey, they've dropped stuff that was doing well for years. There are at least 50 other New York rappers. One think 100 is a lot because I doubt I'd be able to name the 100. It would take me some time. But if you enjoyed it, please leave a comment and hit the notification bell. I'll see you next.